Immensely, because, of course, when you lack an agenda, what you also lack is a rallying point. Now, whether or not you agreed with what Mrs. Thatcher was doing, you knew where the train was going. If you were on board that train, you knew exactly where it was going. And that is what is lacking at the moment. Nobody quite knows where this government is going. And that is why, as I say, what Boris has got to do now is to stop talking about Partygate, because every time he talks about Partygate, he gives his enemies more ammunition, and to start talking about the sorts of things which the Conservative Party was elected to do. And I think that is important. I mean, I think the pandemic has all manner of things to answer for. It has caused a bit of policy constipation in Downing Street, quite honestly, because everybody's been focused on the pandemic. And it has meant that there hasn't been the camaraderie and the rallying in the House of Commons, because everybody's gone round socially distancing and sitting in the chamber with masks on. And it's been a very, very unusual time. But Boris now desperately, A, needs good advice, which he's patently obviously not getting. And B, he needs now to emphasise the positive. Sorry, yeah. You were saying?
And just finally, in this conversation, we are running a little short on time. There seems to be an idea that Boris's policy red meat agenda that we were hearing at the start of this week has already been watered down, potentially because the Prime Minister is in a weak position. The idea that the licence fee would be scrapped in its entirety was floated by the Culture Secretary, only then, according to reports this morning, to be watered down by people like Rishi Sunak and the Cabinet. To what extent would a proper policy agenda actually be able to be driven through if the Prime Minister is in such a weak position?
Oh, you can always drive a policy agenda through with that sort of majority and a decent whipping operation. And what you've got to do now is simply to decide what that policy is and what you're asking people to rally around. But I would issue this final warning. Some of those idiots who are out there declaiming against the Prime Minister and saying they're going to put in letters or have already put in letters are ardent Brexiteers. Do they really want a Remainer in his place because they can't guarantee the succession?